What if joy isn't something that you earned after success, but actually the strategy that creates it? So many high performing leaders on their quest for visibility have been taught that we need to build through pressure, through doing more, through force, through sacrifice. And today's conversation is actually going to disrupt that entire paradigm. Today, I'm joined by Jan Hoeth, the creator of Joy Anyway. It's a movement. It is a powerful call for spiritually awake leaders who are done with the facade, the fake, the overgiving, and who are ready to reimagine life and leadership through audacious joy.
Whoop,
She is the
whoop.
author of Joy Anyway Transform Adversity Through Audacious Joy, and her work blends deep spiritual embodiment with something refreshingly grounded, consistency, devotion, and repeatable systems that actually support you in your life and in your leadership. Jan is a devoted mother, a leader who walks her talk, and someone who courageously is leaning into her edge of visibility and expression, which I just love. And I'm sure we're going to dive into on today's episode. This
Woohoo.
is the Communication Queen podcast, the place to leverage your messaging, your visibility, to express yourself in your most audaciously, authentically way. I am your host, visibility strategist, and high performance business coach, Kimberly Spencer. Welcome back to another episode. And if you're not subscribed yet, be sure you click the button down below so you never miss an episode. Let's dive in. Jan, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. I am so excited to be here with you and all of our listeners.
I am so excited too. So you wrote the book Joy Anyway, and I know what it's like to birth a book baby. And what was the journey like for you? How long did it take from like idea and conception to like it's out in the world?
Well, I think we match the visionary piece where it's like I've known these books or have been in my heart for years, decades, it seems. And yet the actual from like I'm doing this is happening. I love this. I actually did it inside of coaching my own program. So I have a program called Atomic Joy, and it's about building tiny joy habits consciously created over time that, add up to big joy outcomes. And there's 4 seasons, and one of the seasons is 100-day focus of daily joy habits. Well, I provide a journal for that, and it's nurturing your joy. And yet I always encourage my clients to pick an intention. If you could actually fulfill upon a project or get going on something or shift an experience, use this space, use this container. And it was actually this time last year, and it's the season of fuel. And I said to my clients, I said, I'm ready to write my book. My intention during this 100 days is to write it and at least get it published in the digital format on Amazon. And I did that. So I used my own joy container as a loving structure to show up for myself every day. And uh, I called it capturing the book. Like, because for me, it's like the creative process, and I can feel you're similar in the sense that it's like, it's in there, it's out there. It's like, let's capture it though.
Not to be in a
so that we
container.
so that we can put it in a way that's shareable, right? It's like so like I devoted inside of my Atomic Joy season of fuel to capture daily bits and pieces and aspects of this vision, this desire, this movement, and all the different aspects. Because inside of joy anyway, I clarify what is audacious joy, and I clarify super sucky circumstances because
Mhm.
that's what we're
We
transforming. That's
we've
what
all
we're
had
facing.
them.
Yes, and
We've
they
all had them.
right, and they keep coming up yet. And I get into love anyway, lead anyway, live anyway, prosper anyway, show up anyway, like all these different facets to the joy anyway movement, because it's not
Mm.
just joy, it's living life fully. And I know that's what you're about too. And how do we express that? And so, kind of a long response to your question, that the book gestation birthing period was about 100 days, and yet, a long time in the making.
100 days of work, but a lifetime in the making. And I think that like that strategy, but also that intuitive nudge and leaning into that. I've seen that with a lot of successful business owners, like, and myself included. Like, I had to have my book make sense and I had to have it within a container that would allow me to have it make sense for the business. And so like for me, make every podcast want you. Like, if I'm not going on podcasts for lead generation, getting referrals, like practicing what I preach, I'm not actually honoring the content that I have in the book. And I also wrote the book in practice to like serve and support, but also to serve my businesses, like almost like a really like a nice $15 business card that presents the other pieces of my business, the other offerings that we can serve inside of it. The book had to make sense for me. So I love that you embodied the practice. You not only leverage your own community to do this, but on top of it, you are practicing what you preach, you're creating it, and then you create it inside the container. And I think that that's a really helpful strategy for anyone who's looking to birth something into existence, especially a book or a podcast, is if you have an existing container to do it in there as a testimony of your embodiment to the principles that you preach. And you do such a good job of doing that, Jan. And when you were writing the book, I know that sometimes there are struggles and challenges, and like then there's the, the blinking cursor on the white page where it's like mocking you and it's saying, I dare you to write today. At least that's what it sometimes says for me. How did you find your joy? How did you source joy through those uncomfortable writing moments of whether it's writer's block, however you want to language it? Uh, the, formatting, making sure everything kind of fits together and flows in book format. How did you navigate with joy that process?
Well, I really honestly and humbly will say, like, it's like I couldn't get to writing fast enough. I couldn't get to sharing fast enough because it was so ready. It was like a ripe fruit just ready to be picked and uh, devoured and savored. And yet I will say I kind of found it fascinating because I would say it was like a crazy artist moment where could barely get the kids off to school and I don't think I combed my hair. I was still in my PJs when they came home and I was still like in crazy creative writer mode. And yet what I will share is it does help that I had the healthy joy habits, which include guided meditation, movement of some capacity, and mindful reflection. So journaling, I call it mind flow instead of mindset. Nothing set.
You and me
Uh,
align on that one, queen. I think mindset is the biggest problem that so many people get stuck in personal development because they get set on always developing and never accept themselves.
yeah, like that's a whole other conversation
That's
right
a whole
there.
other conversation for
And
another day.
that's where, like, with the daily joy habits that I teach inside of this particular season of my program, Atomic Joy, it is about tuning in every day. What is my play today? What
Mm.
is my movement today? What is my meditation or my anchoring, my prayer time? Like where I'm connecting with myself. And so for me, that's part of the process. We do that as a preparation for all the other things that we're going to do.
It reminds me of in Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, which is one of my favorites. She talks about having a love affair with your writing, like having a love affair with that creativity, like almost like that moment where you're like, "Gotta sneak off and like, I just gotta be with this. I just gotta be in like just, teenage love affair of just like you just can't wait to be with each other, to be in that space." And it sounds like that's kind of the magic that you created in that space with writing your book.
I would say I definitely did. And yet I will say the biggest challenge, because I know we're talking about like really authentic experience here of authoring a book was really honoring completion. It was like I was very aware there's so much more. And then I just had to keep saying that's for another book. It's and really honoring, like, it is birth time, it is showtime, and I had some hard stops. I mean, we had the end of our 100 days, I was really committed to that, and then we had some family travels coming up, and I was like, "I want this out in the world." I just can feel deeper than my heart, I can feel my gut, in my sacral, like, I could feel it all the way down. The world needs this message now more than ever of, like, total permission, and that's, like, one of the book bonuses is I have, like, a permission slip that you can fill out. Permission to have joy anytime right now. Joy anyway, no matter what's going on, because there's so much, and I know that's one of the biggest myths I have to dispel of waiting for your joy. And, I loved how you opened up this podcast conversation about the success and we're striving for joy and the happy, one day. And it's like, what if one day never comes? And I talk about that in one or many of the stories in my book. It's like, we're here to live now. And if writing a book is part of you living now, you gotta get into it and work out what are the structures, but then also work out what's going to have you in your flow, and that's, the work that I do is around getting in alignment with your joy, which for me is a state of consciousness where you are in your most creative space, where you are attractive to ideas, people, spaces, opportunities that align in your highest and the world's highest, and that you're repellent to people, places, things, ideas even that are not serving to you and your greater expression.
Mhm. I think that joy is so magnetic, and I know because 'cause I've had those moments and those experiences practicing extending out that experience because it does create so much magnetism, and you literally you may work hard, but you're hardly working, So, what are some practices that you love that allow you to experience joy anyway?
Well, and I love that you're asking me this, and then I also want to offer encouragement to that, moment where you're talking about the blinking cursor,
Mhm.
because this is where my encouragement to anyone, when you feel that stuck or stagnant and you're not feeling the flow, that's actually when I would invite you to step back and go get in your joy. And some of my favorite practices, I do love movement. I love music. I love dancing. I'm a trail runner, I'm a skier, I'm a snowboarder, I'm a surfer. I can't always do those different sports. Like, we don't always have snow here where I live. And I definitely don't have ocean. And yet, finding what are some of those go tos for me personally, I do love running. My husband and I run ultra trail marathons together. And
Such
so
a
we're kind of
badass.
almost always in training. What's that?
Yeah, you're such a badass.
Like, I have another one coming up in, like, 11 and a half weeks that I keep looking at my husband, I'm like, "We're gonna be ready." Like, I'm ready in my mind, but I'm like, "I know I need to get some more miles going." So just going for a run, moving your body because play is a magical way of both tapping into creativity, but also moving the funk,
Mm.
moving the block, and when that cursor using that as the example, when that cursor's blinking on the screen, it's like we're stuck in our head. We're not in that heart and even deeper, into the body of knowing an expression that wants to come out on the page. Because I know, like you said, like a book can be a business card, but it's also a creative expression. And I know that my book, and I know yours, and the women and men that you touch, like these aren't just words on a page.
Mhm.
There's an energy that I know I infused into my book, intended to be felt in between the words. And so finding what those pieces are, sometimes it's just a nice little cup of coffee. Sometimes it's baking. I love to bake as a meditative process. But
Love it.
sometimes it's just standing out in nature, taking your shoes off, standing in the grass and looking up and listening to the birds. And so it can be such a wide array. It doesn't have to cost anything. It doesn't have to take long. It's the intention of play as I teach it, which is joy emotion. It's literally for the sake of joy. And yet, the hidden agenda behind that is it moves the energy and it helps you tap into your creativity and your higher self and your greater awareness to be able to, be in that flow state, that connective state.
Speaking of joy, I'm seeing my 8-year-old who picked a bushel of wildflowers for me standing at my door.
That's so
Isn't that the
a
sweetest?
joy moment.
Total joy moment. I'm like, "Oh, it's just so beautiful." Just all of these experiences that where you get to savor it and not just rush through life. When When you think of marketing, because just to flip gears, because I know a lot of people, especially a lot of authors and podcasters, is like when you first launch the thing, it's like, here's this thing, but then there's this thing called marketing. And it's like,
Yeah.
how do you in your business, because I know you've run a successful business for a long time now. Like how do you fall in love with marketing? Did you have to? How do you find joy through that process? Because I also know that you're putting yourself out there in a bigger way now.
Right. And this is such a humble part of the conversation because for me, getting the book, getting it printed, getting it, real. It's a tangible book here, people. Like I have a book. I can give it to you. You can hold it. You can crawl into bed and read it. Was a really big deal. And that was the initial goal. And this is where I have such respect for your talents and expertise. And that is, I do require to build the muscle of finding joy in marketing. And what I will say though, it's been quite a journey because, and again, this is your wheelhouse, but I can speak to it very well, is there is something that has to happen. Even writing the book, there were a lot of tears, healing, a lot of emotions that came through that writing the book was really cathartic for, that has helped me get to a place of feeling even more available to greater visibility. And the visibility piece and the marketing piece of just being so grounded and clear of who I am, who I'm not, who I'm for, who I'm not for, and being able to stand in my own lane with grace and sovereignty and power and expression and my queenhood, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's been quite a journey. So as far as the marketing of the book and marketing in general, that is a huge space for me to grow in. And
Mm.
yet, I will say I wasn't ready for this stage until I had the book out. And I know that's
Yeah.
not always the case, and I know if we had, like, book writers on here, author coaches, they might have a different take on this. My journey was I needed to write the book for me first, and then I could step into this marketing visibility piece with greater courage and confidence and awareness of, "This is who I am, this is what I have to share, and this is my movement. This is my
Mm.
mission." It's so interesting the word cauterize comes in, which surprises me. But I've been
Cauterized.
cauterizing my love of marketing and my appreciation of marketing, realizing it's just a different way of sharing.
Mhm.
And it's a way of sharing one to many because we can only have so many coffee dates. We can only,
Right?
and a coffee date's not going to reach the person halfway around the world who could really use this message of joy that I'm sharing. And so I've been on a journey to build that love affair with marketing. And it hasn't always been pretty. And it, like I said, it's been quite a journey because there were times, actually not that long ago, where I would go to hit send for an email or go for a social media post and I would be shaking.
Really?
A visible, visceral, emotional, somatic response to sharing my message, to sharing my heart, because there was so much fear and so much deeply rooted, like inexplainable resistance to the process of marketing. And that's where, to be honest, my book helped me heal that so that I could really be very clear like, I'm not trying to be anyone else. I'm not trying to do anything else. I'm not trying to offer anything else from what I truly believe
Mm.
is a profound way of living and leading life. And when I can stand in that lane, then all of that other stuff doesn't come in. And
Yeah.
yet, the process of like the marketing and the strategy and the consistency and all the things that I really value and what you bring to the world, it's been a journey to be able to arrive at full appreciation of that.
Same here, queen. Like, same. I mean, when I first started my coaching business 10 years ago, like, marketing, I had to be perfect and I had to be smart. and I was trying to control people's perceptions of me by
Mm.
curating what content I put online. Like, God forbid I show up without makeup on, or like not have be the perfect like Instagrammable photo or something like that. So I completely understand the journey with messaging, marketing, and like what I truly consider is like allowing yourself to be fully seen as you and consistently showing up and allowing yourself to be fully seen as you and being present with all of that. I think that there is so much power with being witnessed, but also so much fear that comes with it. So I so honor how far you've come to be able to now you're doing reels on your Instagram and you're showing up on podcasts and you're choosing the joy through it. You're choosing and you're embodying what you preach. And I think that that's so beautiful to witness. I was having a conversation with a client just today on her marketing, and it was coming up these similar patterns of wanting to always be perceived as smart, wanting to always be in a leadership role. And if she posted something vulnerable, if someone witnessed her in saying, "Wow, I'm so sorry you're going through a really hard time," she'd be like, "Yes, and here are my 6 tips for like keeping my routine and going through challenging times." And we just sat with that of just like, what is presence when it comes to marketing? What is presence when it comes to visibility? Because
Mhm.
presence is not performative. And I think there's so many
Yeah.
parts of us that think with when it comes to marketing, and there's so many marketing strategies out there that people say that you should have. And I always say, like, it's never too late to promote your book. Just because you didn't go on like a big promotion bestseller spree doesn't mean you can't. All
Mm.
Amazon takes for a bestseller spree is a 24-hour window. You could do that at any time. But being able to notice that you now have this like asset that's available that
Mhm.
can be out in the world, and that now, because you've gone through it in the process that worked best for you,
Mhm.
you have the ability to have the clarity and the
Mhm.
courage
Mhm.
from going through the writing process to now show up with greater
Mhm.
clarity and courage in your messaging and online and on podcasts. And should you want to do a bestseller, like that's available to you. Should you want to just have your book be able to go out there and serve the people, that's available to you. Should you want to do a big book talk campaign and get it all over TikTok and all the influencer read books online and that's their job, which is crazy to me. Like it's like, wait, you make hundreds of thousands of dollars from just reading books online and you post about them on YouTube? Like that's your job? But that's so cool. Like that's available to you as well. And I think what I love about your story, Jan, is that you really honored the process that you needed to go through for you. I just would love our audience to see that just because you have a book, like you can engage in promotion of your book whenever you want at any podcast, at any event. It's always there and available for promotion. If for some authors, I've had them say, "Yeah, the work was just getting the work out. That was it. It's not talking about the work. It's not going on podcasts. Like that was not the intention of this book." So I love that you're playing with what really works for you and finding that innate trust in yourself. And I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for sharing that with our audience because I know that there are so many listeners that we have who have written books who haven't actively promoted them or like really known how to do it and or known how to bring joy to this thing called marketing. You're stepping up and doing it as part of the process, but you're allowing for that next level of evolution. Like the book took you to here, and now you're allowing for that next level of evolution.
Thank you. Yes, and that really is the secret. Like distilled down, it is bringing joy to the marketing. Because you mentioned my Instagram, like I have been enjoying my Instagram, like sharing what I'm up to and sharing reels from my real life and not necessarily following a strict strategy other than sharing with intention. And yet, yes, I want to be so encouraging of everyone listening that wherever you are at with your book and your journey, lean in, listen to your heart, know what you are truly meant to be sharing around. And For me, that's what joy is an acronym to just own you. And that's, what I'm doing, and I'm humbled to know that you see it. Certainly, I think that's one of the biggest challenges with marketing though, is sometimes it's like, well, this feels good to share. Is it landing? Is it working?
Or you write something that feels like really good to share and it just gets crickets and you're like, that was freaking gold. Like that was
Yeah.
unbelievable. And yet
Yeah.
your post or your reel that's like, just be yourself gets like goes off viral. Like I think that's the awareness of like sometimes you never know what's gonna pop off. Like you never know what
Right.
podcast is gonna send your book skyrocketing into thousands of downloads. You can have inclinations and guesses, and they're like success does leave clues, but ultimately, like really, I do believe in following intuition first as far as what what type of marketing and how can you communicate your message in a way that feels good and right for you, and being aware that not always does that mean that it's going to feel like comfortable. I said good. I didn't say comfortable, because
Right.
sometimes
Yeah.
that good is that adrenaline of like, I know you're like big in adrenaline with snowboarding and skiing. It is that adrenaline of like, ooh, this is a little whew, it's a little scary, but it's pushing you to that edge
Mhm.
versus those marketing that you're just like, I feel like I'm just a copycat of some other version of what somebody else said I should be,
Right.
versus in what way would fully expressing yourself feel really good for you? What way have you
Yes.
found that to be for you?
Well, again, it's the joy infused. Cause like honestly, it does feel true to go back to the part where like I infused my book with joy, with high vibration, with healing, with love. And I believe that in our marketing, when we bring that, when it's even if it's like we're on the edge of something and it takes a little courage to do it, or feels like it, that's kind of when I know I'm onto something. Because it's
Yeah.
something that like I'm feeling deeply called to share. And it's like I can't not share it now. And to
Yeah.
do it in a way that's so express, like yesterday I was out on a run and there's a moose sitting there. So I took a video of the moose and the mountain in the background. And then I popped a reel up on Instagram and it says, moose wisdom of the day. And like, I can't manufacture that.
Mhm.
However, the structure is I have the intent to post at least, well, ideally once a day, but that's not always the case. Frequently. I have the
Yeah.
intent to post frequently, and yet it's showing up, getting into the joy alignment, and then following through on what you know to do. Because I think at the end of the day, and like this is your wheelhouse, right? That there are, like you said, there are systems and structures to marketing that do require some intent behind them. But within that, that would be like the masculine, right? But within that, there's a lot of
Mhm.
space for creativity. My intention yesterday was to get a reel up. Well, on my run, I see a moose. We're going to do that one today. So for me, it's following my joy. It's showing up anyway. It's following through. And then it's remembering at the end of the day, those of us who are here called to write books, called to speak, called to show up on podcasts, like we're here not just for ourselves. There is someone out there that wants to, needs to hear what we have to say and to lovingly get out there and share it and remember
Mm.
that like it's feeling good to me, it's going to feel good to someone else too. And that whether it, gets 1,000 whatever hits or it just gets 10, like, really trusting that the right people are hearing, the right people are getting it at the right time, and leaving it at that, like, not overthinking because I think that's also, like I know for me, when I get too fixed into strategy or perfection, like you were talking about, then it's about the strategy and the perfection.
Yep.
And that's where then the headaches come in and frustration that it's not working. But when we function, I find when you move from joy, like it honestly doesn't matter because you're trusting it's taking shape the way it's meant to, kind of giving it over to the universe for lack of better terms here.
Yeah, and I think you brought up such a great point around sharing your gifts and like it is to be of service. Like ultimately, I see marketing as just relationship building. Like that's just you're building relationships with, a few 100,000 people at a time. But like it's
Right.
and you are just building a quality relationship and like you can do that through a one-on-one with a podcast interview. You can do that through, posting on Instagram or and commenting and building that relationship. Like see with my clients when I'm like, they're like, "Oh, I only got 4 comments." I'm like, "People took at least 5 seconds out of their daily life to leave you a comment because something you said or showed up as had some sort of impact or value to them. At
Mhm.
least do them the honor of responding." Like we can have reverence for these pieces. Like I know things like marketing, especially like I don't even really like the word marketing. I don't like the word marketing. Like I still struggle with the word God. Like I still see Sky Daddy sometimes with lightning bolts. So like working on that bro marketer with greased hair and a Lambo. Uh, but I think being able to like retranslate that what is the relationship that you're building? And you're building relationships through your books. And I think especially with looking at your books, how many different ways can you have conversations and talk about your books and talk about the principles in your books and show people what's in the book? Like there's so many ways to lead people, guide people to those offerings. And I think intention, yes, in showing up and intention in like, where is this going? Kind of like, any relationship, any romantic relationship. Eventually there's that question of like, so where is this going? Each marketing asset, like a podcast interview or a post, it's like, where could this be going? Could this be going to like showing someone about the book or referencing a book or just reminding them, hey, we have this product or this membership, or this is what we're doing every day inside of our group or inside of like just guiding people to that one small decision. Like I said, a book, $15 business card. Not just the intention of like I think there's the first level of like just getting yourself out there and doing the dang thing and showing up. And then on
Mhm.
top of it, it's like the intention of like, well, where would I love for them to go? Like where would actually be really beneficial for them to go after this? Where would it be beneficial for our listeners to go after this? Where can we get your book and become a part of this joy revolution that you are staging?
Well, thank you. And yes, the easiest way would be to go to joyanywaybook.com. You can go ahead and order your book through there, or there's my email address if you want an autographed signed copy that I will send to you. That's the best way to get started.
Amazing. Amazing. Jan, it has been such a pleasure having you on the Communication Queen podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your joy with the world, for getting your work out into this world. It is so needed. Your work is so needed. And as always, my fellow communication queens, your story has the power to save at least one life. So go out
Mhm.
there, let your voice be heard, and let it serve. See you next week
Absolutely.
for next episode.
Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. For more tips on guest podcasting, storytelling, and communication strategies, follow us on social media at Communication Queens Agency and visit us at communicationqueens.com. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And in the meantime, remember, your story has the power to save one life. Let your story and your voice be heard.